Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Ripple just released its second quarter 2021 XRP markets report, in which we learned a number of things, including the fact that XRP global volume increased 98%. 98% quarter over quarter. We also got an update from Ripple concerning the legal affairs of the ongoing litigation of the SEC versus Ripple, the company. And plenty to cover. And so the markets report, I'll tell you, so it's something that they release on a quarterly basis. So I always look forward to it. I get to make 4 videos per year talking about the markets report from Ripple, covering it. You know what, though? That's not enough. I would like to propose that instead of having 4 quarters per year, we have 8 quarters per year. That sounds good, right? I'm math good. So what I did was I printed up this mean bitch right here. Can you hear that? I got paper in my hands. Slaughtered trees. And what I did was I highlighted the parts that I found most fascinating. I wanted to share with you and share with you some thoughts from myself here. But I do want to be clear at the outset. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who makes YouTube videos about Ripple and XRP and crypto as a fun hobby. So let's dig in. Ripple begins by stating there was no shortage of events that were reported to contribute to market volatility in Q2. Ain't that the truth? Notably, ransomware attacks, environmental concerns, Elon Musk's tweets, and regulatory scrutiny, among others. The second quarter of 2021 saw significant increases in crypto market capitalization, followed by a steady decrease. During the larger market period, which lasted 396 days, which we've been through from February 2020 through April of this year, 2021, total crypto market capitalization increased 15-fold. However, beginning April 22nd, prices eventually decreased by over 20%. By the way, sentiment back then, talking about February and especially in March, sentiment was very bearish by and large. I tell you what, the people participating in the market, they are not good at figuring out which way directionally things are going to go in terms of price action. Just completely awful, which is why, and I've been seeing this for over 3.5 years while I've been in the crypto space, which is why I've seen, during the last couple of months where you've seen mostly downward price action, I've just been sitting here like, okay, you bears, you do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to tell you to buy or sell or hold, but if you want to sell, go ahead. But I'm just going to share my opinion, which is that I think bears are going to regret that. And so I think for a ton of reasons, I'm not going to articulate in this video I've talked about, I still think there's going to be one more final leg up. And so, yeah, you can attribute it here to things that Ripple citing in the piece. Elon Musk tweets regulatory scrutiny. And some of the lining matches up perfectly, especially in terms of Elon Musk putting stuff out into the world via Twitter and then price tanks this and that. And that is true. But I'm wondering if that's more so just the straw that broke the camel's back, because I really more so see the reality of the situation is that price action happens and then whatever's occurring at the moment, it's attributed to that. But markets were also impacted by growing fears of inflation. Well, how about that? Just in June, the U.S. Consumer Price Index increased 5.4%, which was the biggest monthly gain since August 2008. And so normally inflation would be what? Like somewhere in the neighborhood of close to 2% or somewhere thereabout, could be a little lower perhaps. And here you go. Look at this. U.S. Consumer Price Index increased 5.4%. And finally, we got the chairman of the Fed even the other day. I talked about this in a separate video, so I won't go in depth, but even he stated, yeah, it looks like inflation is pretty well here to stay. And so you're not going to see a drop until markets tank. And for those of you unaware, actually, typically what happens when you see major corrections, like even in 2008 and 2009, when the stock market tanked, you actually saw deflation there. And it's conceptually not that hard to understand why. It's like if fewer people willing to spend stuff within the U.S. economy unless they really have to. And so, in terms of supply and demand, there's suddenly less demand. So the people that do have dollars kind of sitting pretty, and you actually get deflation right there. So, but still, like, how many years are we going to run up with inflation here? And what if you have consistently higher than historically normal rates like this? You got to kind of wonder what this is like, which is why for people like you and I, yes, you listening to this, we're in crypto, so we're a little bit more in the know. This shouldn't be surprising to anybody. We've been talking about inflation and the extreme debasement of the United States dollar by endless printing And so anybody in crypto, I think, like, by and large, we're all pretty well going to agree that that is not the way to go forward, but that is what we're seeing certainly in the United States as well as many other countries around the world. And you can't just do that forever without consequence. You just can't. And so I understand that there are global supply chain issues. I've been talking about that for some time also. I totally acknowledge that. But the facts are the facts. And you've got supply chain issues in conjunction with absurd money printing. Like, what do you think is going to happen? And so I do think it's a good selling point for crypto, certainly. I mean, I still think, it's ultimately supply and demand, but if this brings in more demand into crypto, well, over a longer period of time, fine. I will say, though, even outside of that, the technology is so compelling that, because it can actually be used to solve real world problems. I think money, like extreme amounts of money, are going to flow in, even if the United States government and other governments the world over were responsible and weren't debasing their fiat currencies. I still think you'd see massive amounts of money flow in, but perhaps it's the case that ultimately you'll see more this way. But there's only one timeline we get to live through, so we can't compare this reality to one that doesn't exist. But to some degree, I certainly suspect it's going to impact it here. So here's Ripple's update on the SEC lawsuit. The case is in the discovery phase, the process of exchanging information, including documents, and taking deposition testimony. Fact discovery is currently scheduled to be completed on August 31st, followed by expert discovery, which is scheduled to close on October 15th, 2021. Ripple opposed the SEC's request to extend these dates 60 days from the original deadlines and will continue to do everything it can to move the case along as expeditiously as possible. Oh yeah, I already bitched up a storm on that. Think about this. The SEC taking almost a decade to decide that they want to take legal action against Ripple because of reasons, and then suddenly, despite the fact that you had all this time to prepare your case, now we get to the discovery phase, and you suddenly need more time at the expense of Ripple? No thank you, sir, madam. I do not find your little baby back bitch excuses to be acceptable. Now, key milestones in Q2 include the following. They got 2 bullet points. The first one is the court agreed for the 3rd time that Ripple is entitled to certain internal SEC documents. And we still don't know if Ripple ever really got anything. We still don't know that. Then the second point, the court denied the SEC's request that it be granted access to Ripple's privileged communications with its attorneys. The court found that the proper focus of Ripple's fair notice defense is on the SEC's failure to provide fair notice to the market about the commission's state of mind as to whether XRP qualified as a security. Yeah, exactly. And so whatever Ripple was advised by their attorneys, basically, irrelevant right in this particular instance. And still, really, like I've said before, it doesn't matter if they were warned that the SEC might make a bad move and bring litigation. Even then, it doesn't mean that the litigation is just and correct, and it sure as hell is not. So this isn't Ripple being warned that, no, if you do this, it's a security, and then them disregarding that flagrantly. No, that's not what's happening. It's like, oh, just so you know, those little punk-ass bitches over at the SEC, because that's how Mike Tyson would say it, they might bring suit against you if you do this. Just know it's a risk. We're just being aware of risk in the world. That's all that it is. And then, excuse me, and then on to the next part that I wanted to cover. Q2 sales and purchases by Ripple. Last quarter, total XRP sales by Ripple, net of purchases, and I'm going to round the numbers here, were $157 million versus $150 million, United States dollars, the previous quarter. Ripple continued to engage in sales to improve the on-demand liquidity experience of certain customers, eliminating the need for pre-funding at exchanges and enabling instant global payments. And so again, Ripple continues to act in the way that they've promised and what you've come to expect, which is they're being responsible stewards within the XRP ecosystem to the extent they have the ability to be a steward of any kind, which basically, look, as long as they're not dumping ridiculous quantities of XRP on the market, I don't care. You want to know how much they are, quote unquote, dumping on the market? I don't even like that. It's just such a negative connotation. You want to know what their percentage is? Check this out. It's like nothing. Total sales by Ripple, net of purchases, ended the quarter at 4 basis points or 0.04% of global XRP volume, according to Crypto Compare top tier volumes. And which is that's just where they get the data from. Crypto Compare top tier. 0.04% of global volumes. My friends, that is not enough volume to measurably impact the price of XRP. When Ripple has sold XRP, it has not impacted the global price of XRP. This is just a fact. It just is not. You can't measure it. It's not happening. And then check out this. And this is interesting because that's not the only thing that factors into like what people are viewing as sales. As it turns out, people are attributing transactions as sales, which actually aren't. And so they have this little section titled leases. And I'll read. It's like 2 sentences, so I'll read it to you. But I'll tell you right now, what they have to be referencing here is their product called line of credit, which also is a line of credit, because a line of credit is a thing you can get like if you're a business. But their product is also called what that function is, which is kind of confusing. But yeah, so their product is line of credit, and they don't cite that product name here, but they talk about leases and describe it the exact same way that they previously described line of credit working. So here's what they wrote. Certain wallets that are being used for XRP sales are also provide short-term leases to market makers. This is worth noting, given they are often incorrectly interpreted by market participants as sales. Leases are ultimately returned to Ripple. Total leases outstanding in second quarter of 2021 were 57.7 million XRP. And so I just thought it was worth noting, but I don't know the reason for shifting the language here. Rather than stating line of credit or loan of any kind, they just use the word leases now. So I don't know if there's some technical reason, there's a legal reason, or just whoever wrote this happened to use a term that's inconsistent with the message that Ripple was delivering. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. And then reported volume. Crypto Compare top tiers reported daily volume for XRP increased significantly in second quarter 2021 from the first quarter of the year. The average daily volume reported, check this out, it doubled to 4.49 billion in the second quarter compared to 2.26 billion in the previous quarter, so quarter one. So notably, XRP volumes posted 4 of the highest volume days ever recorded. So XRP being traded on open markets for over 8 years now. And they state here, 4 of the highest volume days ever recorded. And we haven't even seen XRP back to its all-time high. Now, to me, that's incredible and bullish, and it's just an indication of how many new people and how much new money has entered the space. And more participants, more people to bid the price up. You guys know how this works, right? I don't need to explain supply and demand, I will assume. This is all fantastic news here. And then there's this section, excuse me, titled A Tokenized Future. The widespread use of digital assets to represent ownership of assets on a blockchain, or tokenization, is transforming how people buy, sell, track, and manage assets of all kinds, from art and real estate to intellectual property, equities, and supply chain goods, with over 5,000 tokens issued since its inception. The XRP ledger was designed with a decentralized exchange and characteristics to handle all types of currencies or assets efficiently, sustainably, and at low cost. And so it's so cool to me that the XRP ledger was the first platform, the first blockchain ever designed where users could tokenize whatever they want. So it can be non-fungible tokens. And so like these terms were not around back then. And so what Ripple was calling this, it's something different, but it describes exactly the same thing. It is the same thing. XRP Ledger is the first blockchain ever where you could do this. It was not Ethereum. Ethereum was not the first. And but they used to call it IOUs, or issued assets. And so that's that. Using those words, you can use them, but at this point, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You might as well just jump in line with what the rest of the world of crypto is calling it now. So just call it tokenized assets. Talk about non-fungible tokens. That seems to make more sense to me. And indeed, Ripple is certainly helping to position the XRP ledger as the perfect platform for non-fungible tokens, with a lot of that activity taking place currently on Ethereum. But my gosh, transaction fees are absolutely outrageous, whereas if you just look at XRP, blazing fast in fractions of a penny. And so it's like people don't realize you can utilize the XRP ledger for that. But Ripple's making a serious push for this, and I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but it's covered in this quarterly markets update report here. but I've already covered it, so I don't want to go in depth here. But Ripple did announce an investment with Mintable, which is an NFT marketplace that allows users to seamlessly create, buy, and sell digital items using fiat or cryptocurrency. And so that's coming along, and that could be a big deal. And that will affect, I believe, if adopted in a meaningful way, because assuming NFTs are going to stick around, which I think they will. I think they're more than just a fad, even if there is a frenzy around it now. There's still something to it. Well, my understanding is that if any time you issue a new asset, you have to lock up XRP, and I believe the current number is 5. So if you have a bunch, 5 XRP, so if you issue a ton of non-fungible tokens here and tokenize a bunch of additional stuff, that affects supply and demand. So it depends on to what degree that it's adopted for these use cases as to how impactful that would be. But in a world where there's much greater crypto adoption, and if XRP Ledger happens to get a big piece of that pie for that use case, that could measurably impact the price of XRP over a longer period of time. So just one more thing here. But I'll go ahead and wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.